And with the 61st pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Allen Robinson, wide receiver, Penn State.
So they've gone Marquise Lee and they've gone Allen Robinson.
Here's Hackenberg. He's going to go for it right here. And Robinson comes down with it.
The best thing about him, though, is the fact that if you throw him the football and it hits his hands, he catches it.
And Robinson, what a catch.
I don't know where he ranks in the league in terms of highest percentage of catching the football when it's thrown at him, but I'd be willing to bet it's top 3 because I don't think I've ever seen him drop a football.
Robinson makes a spectacular catch. He's got great hands.
Look, this isn't just a podcast, this is motivation. They be like, Rez training who? I just know they hate. We ain't being patient, cause that mean that we be waiting. We just seeing greatness, I don't want it if it's painless. But that's in the past tense. Since I put the weed down, I've been snapping. Always had the tools to make it happen. Whether it was playing ball or getting rapping. Wasn't one box, these carrots can have me trapped in the cycle of a black man. I'm just trying to break it. All by myself with them L's, I had to face it. Life is what you make it, you can't let nobody take it. Gotta watch out for them fake. First stack your bread, don't stay complacent.
Hey, yo.
God's good.
Oh yeah.
Talk to him.
Welcome back to Showtime Speaks, the Keep Going podcast. The season of bringing dreams and ideas to life. Come on, Kenny, we back in the motherfucking building, and they can't stop us. I know they hate seeing us, man, all up on your timeline, your feed. God damn it, I'm dirt. Stop. Come on.
Yo,
my fault.
Hey, you want to know why he got all that energy?
Why?
Because he wasn't going hard this morning. He was getting cooked this morning.
Cut it out, yo. Cut it out, yo. I had a couple wins. I had a couple wins today on that hill. Come on, man. And I beat you like 3 times. Come on, man.
How many hills we run?
We ran like 15. You know what I'm saying? Back in the building, man. Super, super excited about this new episode, man.
Yes, indeed.
The energy is high. I'm talking about the biggest guest that we didn't had on the podcast so far. Like, before we even introduce him, before we even get crazy, Kenny, what's going on? Matt, what's going on?
Look, man, again, I said it last week. It felt good to be back.
Yeah.
Last 3 weeks been good. I'm back rolling, man. I feel like I'm getting cut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back in that workout regimen. I mean, we've been getting at it.
Crazy.
And the vibes is good. We ran hills this morning. That was a good vibe.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there early AM. And again, it's always good to be back in here for sure.
Always, man. We have a big announcement too.
Mm-hmm.
We got a corporate sponsorship deal, man. Locked it up, bro. Been putting in a lot of work. Big shout out to Next Level Physical Therapy. They're going to be our new presenting sponsor for Showtime Speaks, the Keep Going podcast. Super, super excited. If you got to this point of the video, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We doing some big things, man, and super excited. Matt, what's going on, man?
Oh, I don't know. I'm actually, that's news to me, so that's great.
Oh,
Congrats. I didn't even know. I didn't even know. That's great.
I was holding it.
You know, it's just cool that I feel like everything's coming together for you guys, so I'm just excited for that. Things are crazy, and it's just always good to have Kenny back in the room and to hear that things are going well in that regard. You know, we don't really get to talk a lot throughout the week, and then we all come together, and I just feel like I'm happy for you guys.
Nah,
so
man,
cool.
it like when you start seeing like some of the hard work, you know, I'm out there, you know, boots on ground, man. Things is really, you know, starting to happen, man, and it's an exciting time for Showtime Speaks.
Isn't it funny how you go from literally feeling like there's nothing to there's everything?
Yeah.
It all happens at the same. It's like you put in all that hard work, which you guys all know, but you put in all that hard work and you feel like it's not working out, and it's not working out, and then all of a sudden everything starts hitting you at once, and that's the fun part about this whole
100%.
thing.
It's hitting.
So.
It's hitting. Let's do the introduction, man.
Yeah.
You know we get crazy with these introductions. Matt, hit the drum roll, man, because we about to introduce this thing. Come on, man. Yeah, drum roll, please, baby. Yeah, drafted in the 2nd round. Come on, number 61. Come on, man, Jacksonville, Pro Bowl receiver, NFL touchdown leader in 2015, All-American. Come on, man, stop playing. 2-time Big Ten receiver. Come on, man. Come on, man. Bring the camera. 500 plus catches in the NFL, man. 7,000 plus. Come on, man. Career, 40 plus touchdowns. Mr. Allen Robinson, man, what's going on, bro?
It's good, man. Glad to be here, bro. Glad to be here.
That's heavy numbers right there.
I mean,
I appreciate it, man.
Man, listen, I told you, man, sometimes we going down the list and you really get a chance to see what people have done. I think even sometimes we need to be reminded. And I think like going through this and hearing that and saying that 7,000 plus yards, bro, 40 plus touchdowns, 500 plus catches, bro. Yeah, you've been doing your thing, bro.
It's crazy because I can't even, I don't know those numbers exact.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
It's crazy to hear it. It's crazy to hear it.
You one of them ones, man, like super, super excited to have you on the show. One, man, you're a brother, man. I've been following your career. We done been together back in 2015 in Jacksonville. If people don't know who you are, who is Allen Robinson, bro?
Man, it's funny because, you specifically are one of those people who played with me as well when I was younger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So being able to see the transition and the entire maturation process, you know, for me, I got drafted when I was 20. So it was a lot of learning on the fly. Again, coming into the league at 20 years old, we didn't particularly have any vets in our room.
Nope.
So by the time I was in my second year, I was 22, and it was like I was leading the way.
Yeah, bro.
And I was also trying to find my way.
Bro.
And sure enough, I looked up in 2015 around week, I think 11 or 12, and I probably had like 1,100 yards. I actually remember talking to my agent, and you've met him before in Atlanta. I remember talking to him before we were playing against Tennessee. And he called me like before the game. Normally, I'm saying, I'm not big as far as phone calls and stuff on game day, but he had called me. He was like, "Yo, I think I needed like 70 or so yards to cross 1,000."
Yeah.
That specific game. He called me. He's like, "Yo, like you keep doing what you're doing, like you can go to the Pro Bowl." I'm like, "Word? Like you think so?"
Yeah, bro.
He like, "Yeah, man. Just keep doing what you're doing." And sure enough, that game, I think it was against Tennessee at Tennessee. I think I had like 10 for 163.
Snapping.
10 for 163. 3 tugs. But again, for me, man, born and raised in Detroit. Shout out to Detroit.
Yeah, bro.
Being back there this year was nothing short of spectacular. Granted, we didn't win the Super Bowl, but being back home, playing last year in the city that I grew up in, watching the Lions 0-16. Watching a lot of tumultuous years for Detroit and for the Detroit fan base.
Yeah.
And then when I got back, like my sister, she works for the Tigers. So when I had got back and I signed to Detroit, Tigers were just going to the playoffs.
Yep.
They had their playoff run. I got there. We went 15-2 in the regular season. Pistons just came off the playoffs. So it was, man, and I always say, I never want to force playing back home at the crib. I always say, it'll happen when the time is right. And that was nothing that I wanted to force my entire career. I know every time I hit free agency and stuff, my parents and family will be like, "Hey, like Detroit, like it's Detroit." What I'm saying? I always tell them, like it's gonna happen when it happens. And sure enough, this year following training camp, I had a real good training camp in New York with the Giants, but they end up releasing me, and they want to end up bringing me back. But then right when they got rid of me, we actually practiced against Detroit in a joint practice.
Okay.
And I was killing that practice. So I actually thought, if I had got released, that it was a good chance I was going to be in Detroit, just based on how the week went, based on what they needed and so on and so forth. And sure enough, I found my way back to the city.
Bro, I mean, you talking about magical, you talking about energy. I had a chance to go to a playoff game there. They had Eminem in the building.
Yeah, man. It's listen, man, the game day experience there, man, being in Ford Field, and it's a dome. I always feel like, obviously outdoor fields like Lambeau, Arrowhead Stadium, they all have their particular aesthetic.
Yeah.
But being back in Detroit and in that dome, man, I don't know if it's any dome teams giving it up like that. Minnesota has a good atmosphere, but being in Detroit, man, when you come out that tunnel and they turn the lights off, everybody got it's different, man. It's a different feel. And like I said before, man, being from Detroit, I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm glad to see where the city is at, just as far as the fans. The fans have been dedicated, and they've been needing that for a long time.
1,000%,
so all the
bro.
teams are back in the city.
Yeah.
It's a cool vibe brewing in Detroit.
I love it, bro.
It's love. I want to actually get into y'all two relationship. I want to know what was your first impression of she? Because I got my own impression.
She was turned up, man.
Yeah.
But again, what's funny though is it was we were all young, you know. So for us, it was like, you know, just kind of gravitating towards, you know, everybody who's kind of doing the same thing and pushing in the same direction. That's the thing, you know. It's like at that time, you know, at least for us in our room, like it was no OGs. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had people who played on the field, but we all was still trying to learn and get it on the fly. You know, like, I mean, for us, our more veteran receiver was me. I was in my second year, Alan Hearns.
Yeah, but we had one more. It was one more. It was
Marquise Lee?
Nah. It was like Aurelius Ben. Like that was the oldest person that was in the room during that time.
At that time, AB probably was 27.
Yeah.
You know, so for us, you know, we had such a young team, you know, but again, for me being able to, you know, for she just going, actually, I would kind of say how our even relationship kind of brewed was our receiver coach Sully would be on his head. Yeah. You know, like Coach Sully is one of them coaches, he coached hard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and shout out to Coach Sully, you know, because
big shout out to Coach Sully, man.
He's helped me tremendously throughout my career. But, you know, he used to be on she head, you know, and I used to always go over there and tell she, like, listen, bro, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Don't mind it. Don't get discouraged. You know, he be on everybody's head like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just kind of how he was, and that's where it started, you know. And again, for me, you know, I was you know, just doing stuff, moving around, you know what I'm saying? Like we was in Atlanta.
Yeah, I definitely got that story.
Yeah. So, you know, it just, you know, and again, for us, we was a young group, so everybody was very close knit. Yeah,
it was bro. It was Coach Sully, man. He was probably one of the hardest coaches that I've had, but he was super like technical to the details. You know, like I ain't gonna cap. Like A-Rod, he couldn't do no wrong in that joint. I'm talking about half step twink. Like, bro, he like. You were the you was the OG in that joint, like,
and I was 22,
and only 20. Yeah, like
that was going into year 3. So I hadn't turned 23.
No, you was going into your second year.
Yeah, so I was 21.
So you was still 21. Yeah. So it was like crazy during that time. Like, but Coach Sully, man, like when I was in Philly during that time in the beginning, even before I got to Jacksonville, I ain't have a real receiver coach. So when I got to Jacksonville, I was like, it was like a culture shock. Yeah. Like this dude really in here. I want you breaking off your fourth outside, your fifth outside on the dig, or this or that. It had to be super technical. Yeah. And like this dude used to be, I'm talking about, he been running routes since I'm telling you, bro.
What actually made it crazy was like, for me coming into the league, I wasn't like overly technical. You know what I'm saying? Well, when I say overly technical, I wasn't overly technical when it came to receiver specific and terminology and things like that, but I had a deep bag.
Yes, natural with catching
for like a 6'3" receiver. I could say that, but I always, even in college, you know what I'm saying, I had some good coaches in college too. You know, I played for Bill O'Brien, who had came from New England, so he had coached a lot of good receivers as well. So when I was there at Penn State, you know, with the receiver core and coaches we had, you know, they just kind of allowed me to, you know, when I was in college, I used to watch Stevie Johnson, but just a lot of different receivers who kind of had some more to their game, and I was able to watch them and just kind of continue to mold my game. So by being 6'3" and being able to catch jump balls and stuff like that, you know, I also was able to, you know, run routes where I'm running stutter comebacks and different things like that, and I actually enjoyed it. You know, for me, it was more so how I looked at it was, I tried to come into, like, every time I lined up with somebody, like, I had like a hoops mixtape and one mixtape
1,000%
in my head. 1,000%. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to put all these people like on an and one mixtape. Like, that's literally my goal. Like, if I'm not like killing somebody off the ball, it's like, nah, I gotta. It ain't feel right. You know what I'm saying?
This dude used to come off half step, right, left, right. I'm like, this dude, like, he was like at one point, bro, he was unstoppable, bro. Like, I remember the first day I got there, I caught a one hand on the sideline.
Yeah, I remember that.
Bro,
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
First day, like, who is this? Like, where he from? Like, and that's kind of how things started to build up from there. But like, him and Blake Bortles was undefeated with that back shoulder, bro.
And too, because he was from Philly.
Bro,
you know, so I know some people from Philly, man.
1,000%.
Shout out to North Philly, man.
Yeah. Deion Barnes, stop playing, man. We had a lot of roots connecting us, and that's the thing that kind of connected us too, Kenny. Yeah. But for real, like, I definitely wanted to say it on here, man. This dude, like, you know, like, we took a trip to Atlanta, bro, and like, I don't think I ever really got a chance to like really like thank you for that, bro, because during that time I was really going through like a rough thing, bro. And bro, you saved my life, bro. Like it was a time where like when I was out there and I had found out something that I was in a relationship with a girl and I found out some information about the situation and like, bro, like I had a choice to make, bro. Either crash out or come get y'all from the airport. Yeah. And it was like one of those moments where it was just like, I remember I'm on the phone, I'm going crazy, blah, 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 I'm doing this or whatever. And then you was like, yo, just come get us from the airport.
Yeah, so we end up, you was driving back from Atlanta to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
We were about to fly.
Yeah.
But it was early, and I think I was like, you know what?
You wound up driving.
I'll just ride back.
You wound up driving back with me, yeah.
And so we end up booking the flight and then end up riding back.
Yeah,
you know?
bro.
I remember that whole
that
situation.
It was.
I'm like, bro, let's just slide, bro. Because I remember
thank
that
you.
whole situation.
Thank you. I'm just going to say thank you. We ain't got to get all into the details, but like during that time, bro, like, that's where like you became like not just a friend, but like, yo, you became my brother in that moment. And it was like special because like, bro, like I was really ready to crash out. And, you know, like we talked in the whole way back and we got back and I was still like kind of messed up. And then it led for me to wind up leaving and I went to San Diego. But I definitely wanted to publicly say thank you, bro, because during that time, and I was definitely in a rough spot and you definitely helped me get through that, bro. But yeah, man. Also, I definitely want to talk about the Detroit thing too. While we still talking about it. Craig Reynolds, bro.
Yeah.
Like that whole dynamic, bro. Like I remember C-Ray. I think he hit me up or somebody asked me. Like I said, yeah, my boy A-Rob, he down there, boom, boom. And he was just like, bro. He wanted me to tell you. He said, "What's up, though?" Too.
That's
bro.
what's up, man. And you know that's what makes sports and football. You know that's what's made my life so enjoyable, outside of the game, is being able to connect through different people and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Like soon as she said he from Philly, you know what I'm saying? It's like one of my super close homies, you know what I'm saying? He's from Philly, you know, and he's North Philly area Ave nigga to the death. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
North Philly Aztecs.
bro.
So for me, and I know how small, how small of an area, that is. Bro. Obviously, if you know somebody from North Philly, or people in that Philly area, when it comes to sports and football and stuff like that, people typically know each other, So being able to, again, gravitate towards people, like you said, like Craig, yourself, Dion, that, what I'm saying? That's what really makes the league, to me, in my eyes, so special as far as being able to connect with people, being able to, because again, I mean, relationships, it's a relationship business, people may not, understand it. Obviously it's a talent driven business first, but it's a lot of relationships, to be made and to be had, that can be, lifelong relationships for a lot of guys.
All right. So we're going to do something different, man. We got something called Interesting Facts. And these are we got 3 interesting facts about you that people probably already know, but we kind of want to touch on it to see how you feeling about it, what you think about it. Well, the first one is your Within Reach Foundation to support educational opportunities in low income and inner city students. Like talk about, what you've been doing with your foundation and talk about what it means to you and talk about it, bro.
Yeah, man, it's been phenomenal. Again, it started in Jacksonville. That's kind of where it started. So for us, and obviously we know that Jacksonville has a lot of poverty areas, so being there and kind of being in the city, being able to start the process, then, for me, I was fresh out of college, like I said before, 21 years old, so me, being outside and seeing different things, I was very young, at that time. So I related, with a lot of, kids who are coming out of high school in some of these areas and different things like that, even when I would go back to Detroit, things have kind of changed a little bit now, like guys come out of college, got bread and stuff like that. But, when I was coming out of college and stuff, I'm going back, hanging out with my friends, house parties and different things like that. So being able to be actually in the city and in these different areas, you see how much is needed, so, and for me, just being able to kind of help provide the opportunities, it started out with just doing, back to school, give backs and, Christmas time, we would partner with like Dick's Sporting Goods, get kids bikes and different things like that. That's where it started, and then kind of once I got to Chicago, we were able to continuously involve that, and have reading rooms in Boys and Girls Clubs, which are pretty much kind of like glorified libraries in Boys and Girls Clubs. So for kids who go there and have the after school care and stuff like that, have different places and, to be able to do work, to be able to enrich themselves through books and so on and so forth. You know, we sponsor, we collab with Scholastic, you know, and have some sponsorships and books and stuff through them, you know, and then once I went on to LA, you know, we kind of continued to evolve, you know, where we started to evolve into financial literacy. You know, we had somebody on my board from JP Morgan Chase, you know, so we were able to have him come out, you know, and do some stuff in some tech areas and some tech labs and kind of speak to the kids about, you know, what a financial literacy looks like, you know, investing and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's been able to continuously evolve, you know, into being able to do a lot, and that's kind of how I wanted to set out to be. You know, I didn't want it to just be one thing in particular. You know, like even during COVID, you know, something that we hadn't done before was we partnered with food drives and food banks. You know, so we were able to provide some of the inner city families and stuff who are depending on free lunch and stuff like that from the schools, you know, because you got some families who have, you know, 4 and 5 kids at home who normally go to school every day and they're getting free lunch, but now they're at home because of COVID, you know. So, you know, we just found different ways and just trying to continuously find different ways to be able to support the community, you know, to be able to give back, to be able to, you know, have a place where, you know, we can kind of help, you know, people and be, you know, kind of that person and group that people can lean on a little bit.
Now, what made you think about that, though? Like, did you always want to do that at a young age? Like, when I get this platform, one thing I'm going to do is give back.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and also at the same time, you know, being able to have, you know, my family around, you know, and them being able to help, you know, obviously, you know, you want to figure out how to help in the best way possible, you know, but, you know, when you're younger, especially coming to the league and trying to figure things out yourself, you know, it can be tough sometimes, but, you know, I have a good group around me, you know, and my family and friends, you know, always made sure that, you know, that was definitely a part of, you know, what our agenda was. And I say our because, you know, through my entire time in the league, you know, man, I wore, you know, my name on the back of my jersey, you know, very heavily, you know, so I was always able to kind of lean on my family and lean on my friends because this was a group effort. You know, again, everybody knows, man, when you playing 10, 11, 12 years in the league, man, it is a lot of selfishness that kind of goes into it to a certain degree, but having the people around you, you know, who are understanding of that, you know, that understand, man, you may have a long, stressful week when it comes to game planning, big game, and then you lose, you know, and that Sunday night, you know, you just want to chill, you know, and you got people in town who want to go to dinner, who want to do different things, you know, ways. So being able to have family who kind of understood, you know, what I set out for my goals to be coming into the league and the things that I wanted to accomplish, you know, I tried to always, you know, repay everybody back, you know, by wearing that name on the back of my jersey, you know, very proudly and heavily.
That's love, man. That's love, man. The next thing, bro, you in 2019, you received the Good Guy Award in Chicago for being so cooperative in the media. Now, I know you're big on social media and having comments and sharing your opinions. Just talk about you in that space, bro.
Yeah, it's funny because actually, man, Chicago kind of got me off of social media for a little bit, man. Well, when I say like Chicago, not like, you know what I'm saying? Just it was, for me, as you know, like when I first came into the league, social media wasn't as big as it is now. Yeah. You know, so it kind of continuously grew. But as far as in the locker room and stuff like that, you know, for me, I always looked at, man, like reporters and stuff like that, they have a job to do, but they are also like pretty much a liaison, you know, to who our fan bases are as players, you know. So for me, you know, after a big game, after a loss, win, lose, or draw, you know, I'm gonna talk to the media. You know, I've never had a problem, you know, with being able to, you know, express myself or get what's off my chest, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Being, you know, properly spoken and not going too crazy. Yeah. You know, but and also, you know, the fun side of social media as well, you know, is Twitter was now X, you know, but that's what them Chicago fans got me up for. But hey, man, when you ain't winning in Chicago, bro, don't take your ass on X, bro. For real. For real. Because they gonna let you have it. You know what I'm saying? So for me in Chicago, you know, going through some contract negotiations and different things like that, you know, being kind of a spectacle in the media, you know, with the local media and national media, you know, I always tried to keep it a buck with them, you know, and never made their job too hard, you know, and I think that they helped out, you know, the same way, which is, you know what I'm saying, now looking back at it, you know, those guys are the same people who, you know, when it comes to doing media stuff now, you know, as I'm being more involved in the media, you know, they hit me up and stuff like that to talk, you know, but I've always enjoyed that, you know, and try to go about my business as such.
Now, is Is that the next step? Is that something that's brewing up in your life right now and that you've been setting up for a long time? Being as though like we've been athletes for so long, like, you know, things start to change a little bit. Do you see yourself in that media space?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of started that when I was younger in Jacksonville. You know, first coming to the league, you know, I didn't have when I say finances, I mean I could have, but my main focus wasn't on building a media company or a production company or anything like that. But I would do different things, you know, early in my career that kind of pertain to media. So as I just kind of continued to get older, you know, and kind of, you know, once you get more comfortable being in the league and with your routine, then you can kind of start to branch out and do different things first, you know. But I always kept it the main thing first, you know, keeping the main thing the main thing. But, you know, as I was in Chicago and being in media more, you know, leaving Chicago, going to LA, I shot my own kind of free agency experience and what that was like, you know, which was ridiculous. You know, if anybody want to see a crazy, you know, kind of how things work in free agency, go on my YouTube channel and watch. You know, you'll be able to see, you know, how it was for me, you know, going from Chicago to LA. You know, I probably would say, you know, very, very close to signing with Philly. You know, so it was, man, it was very close to signing with Philly. You know? So that's on there. So now I didn't know that. So now that's kind of, I would say, where it kind of started. You know, now me and my company Sure Shot Productions, you know, I partner with some guys. So we have a docuseries coming out on Roku in about a month or so, called Free Agency. Centered around Evan Ingram, Jacoby Myers, Darius Slayton, Olamide Zaccheaus. You know, so it's 3 episodes, about 90 minutes. You know, so I'm excited for that. You know, so
big
just kind of man, just kind of continuously being able to, again, man, use a lot of my relationships and stuff that I've, you know, built and created, you know, and now getting into the media and stuff, you know, but that's just part of it. You know, I got some other things that I'm looking to do as well.
Yeah, bro. Kenny.
You good?
You good? Yeah. Okay. The last one.
This one, yeah.
The last one. You said what?
I got questions about this one right here.
So listen, this one is before football was even like a focus, bro. Like, bro, your first passion was basketball, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And I know you talked about the, you know what I'm saying, like you trying to hit the and one mixtape at the line and you singing it. Talk about your experience with that, man. Cause I didn't, you know, like I said, man, sometimes when I'm going through like the archives, man, I get to watch these old videos of you, hey.
Man, I was purebred hooper. You know, I spent thousands of more hours in the gym than I did on the field. You know, I'm always joking people because coming out of high school, I was a 3-star recruit, you know, but for me, it never was a pressing issue or anything like that. Cause like going to camps and stuff, like the football heads and football people just never saw me play football like that. You know what I'm saying? But I knew I could play, you know what I'm saying? I've been like super nice in football since I was like young, you know what I'm saying? But when it would be 7-on-7s, I would be at Pitt, you know what I'm saying? Like basketball tournaments, you know what I'm saying? I'm in Vegas, LA, hooping. So I didn't start going to camps and 7-on-7s until going into my senior year. You know what I'm saying? But again, my high school coach, he had a lot of connections when it came to football. So for me, it never was a pressing issue, you know what I'm saying? Which is why I kind of, I guess, popped onto the football scene late. And then when I got to Penn State, everybody's kind of like, who is this dude? You know what I'm saying? But like my high school quarterback went to Penn State, shout out to Rob Bowden, the year before I did. So Penn State had kind of watched me some, but then they were like, hey, like we want to get you up to camp or whatever, you know, just to kind of see our, you know what I'm saying, get you in person and stuff.
Yeah.
I probably was up there. Camp started at like 7. Me and my boy James Ross, we drove overnight probably left at like 11:30 p.m. Got to State College, PA around like 6. Camp was at like 7:30. I probably did 3 drills and they like you good, we gonna offer you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, even for me, most of my offers came like that. You know what I'm saying? I would just go to camps and then people would see me like actually in person. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a 6'3" receiver who like hoop and stuff like that. And then when I would get there, you know, and they would see me play, it's like, okay, like cool, we could, you know what I'm saying? We go ahead and offer you. So
but I want you to talk about the journey in high school. Now, I mean, I did a little research. You started as a running back. You was only 5'8".
Quite the journey,
year, right?
Quite the journey.
Played freshman football, stuff like that. Can you tell me about
man. It was quite the journey, you know. And again, man, I'm blessed to have been a part of the journey. You know, I tell everybody that's mentally, spiritually, everything. You know, I started out playing freshman football. I was a corner, you know, but then I end of that year getting moved up But I was still 5'8", you know, and I say spiritually, you know, because it's funny because it was never like anything in my mind, you know what I'm saying, that told me like I would be too small to do, you know what I'm saying? It just, you know what I'm saying, like it never was a thought, you know, like I never was worried about, you know, my height or anything like that. It was just kind of like, you know, like everything gonna kind of just figure itself out, you know. So that year as well, I played freshman basketball. I actually came off the bench, you know what I'm saying? So for me being a hooper, playing freshman basketball, coming off the bench was like ridiculous. But I played 5 games on freshman. 3 of them I came off the bench and had like 30 off the bench in my first 3 games. Bro. Then the last 2 I started had 30. I got moved up to JV. You know what I'm saying? Like 5-6 games in, I started like on the bench. Yeah. And then going into my sophomore year, I grew like 6-7 inches. You know what I'm saying? That's when everything, you know what I'm saying? But for me, it was funny because I was hurt. My body was aching. Like my back was sore. Like it was like
going through them growing pains.
But I had no idea it was that, you know. And it was like one day, once school was about to start, I'm kind of getting back in the mix. You know, I wake up, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? There it goes. You feel me? I'm like, all right. Like I was waiting for it to happen. You know what I'm saying? But there it is. And sure enough, you know, everything just kind of popped off and transpired from there. And I say that because again, man, I'm in a little bit of a joking way, but in a serious way, you know, like from just kind of a manifestation and like how my mind works is like there never was a time where I thought like, dang, like what if I'm like, you know what I'm saying, what if I don't grow no more? What if I am too short to do this? And that never clicked in my mind. And then when it happened, I just was kind of like, you know, like God's timing, like it was, you know,
I'm here.
It happened when it was meant to happen, you know? So I took everything from 5'8" me, which was a very, 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 very good athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think who I would compare myself.
Allen Iverson type or
football wise. To be honest, if I could compare myself football wise, I may not have been as bulky or as big as he is now. He's not even that crazy big dude. But I would say I was kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay.
Like running back wise.
Running back wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I drew like 6.5 inches. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't play for receiver for the first time until I was a junior in high school.
Yes, same.
That was like my first time ever playing receiver.
Yeah.
You know,
and you didn't play your sophomore year, right?
No, I didn't because I was hurt. So that was my only year of my life that I didn't play a football season was my sophomore year. I was back ready to go for basketball, but I had such crazy growing pains like I couldn't, like I was, you know what I'm saying? I was just hurt. Around, but I was hurt. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And looking back at it, it's so funny because it wasn't until my high school actually had a chiropractor who went there and I went to go see them like early when my back started hurting. Yeah. So, and mind you, nothing was kind of getting better. You know what I'm saying? I'm still kind of, you know what I'm saying, in pain and stuff. And once they start tracking everything, because like when you go to a chiropractor, sometimes like they'll like get your weight, you know what I'm saying, get your height and stuff like that. When you look back at it, like when I first got there, when I first started having these issues, I was like 5'8". Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, and that was like May, June. Yeah. Now it's like August. I'm like 6 feet, 6'1". That's crazy. So they like, you know, like, I think we know what it is. Yeah. So then I started going to PT and pretty much literally just was a whole like 8-week process of me just getting like stretched. Yeah. For like 8 weeks. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And then once
to help with your growth.
Yeah. It was that's like tough. Pretty much how they described it to me was my body was growing faster than my muscles were like limping. So
that's crazy, yo.
So I end up going and, you know what I'm saying, just going there every morning before school. So I'm going to PT at like 5:30 a.m. Yeah. And they'll like stretch me out and stuff like that. And then I would go to school. And then by the time basketball hit, I was good to go.
Yeah, bro. That's crazy, man. Like since we're on the topic of, you know, growing, you know, a lot of kids struggle with that, with feeling like they too small or feeling insecure or feeling the way they feel about their self and their bodies. Talk about, like, from your own experience, like, what would you say to the kid of like that younger version of yourself to kind of help you out through those times?
Yeah, every time I speak to younger kids and families and parents, I tell kids all the time and parents to continuously allow them as parents and for kids to continuously like chase your dreams. You You know, I think sometimes in some of the inner cities, you know, I actually was joking with my mom the other day, you know, growing up, everybody was like, get off that video game, get off that video game. Now you see streamers who are playing the game and making real livings off of that and so on and so forth. And I say that to say because for kids, you can't take things away from kids that they're passionate about, you know, and I definitely don't want kids doing that to themselves. You know, like I couldn't imagine if somebody told me, hey, like you can't play football, but you know what I'm saying, still like go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like a part of me going to school and stuff was sports related, you know what I'm saying? Bro. But, you know, I learned at a young age that I needed sports and school, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't,
bro, keep you on track.
But at the same time though, again, whether that's kids playing instruments and so on and so forth, you know, some people are so, you know, saying as far as, you know, people working and trying to working towards something, but at the end of the day, you know, for a lot of people in my life, whether it's sports, music, whatever the case may be, any kind of skill, talent, hobby or whatever, you know, chasing that has taken them so far, you know, and again, and, you know, everybody may, you know what I'm saying, shoot for the stars, you know, but, you know, some people, you know, fall on the moon, you know, but that's not a bad place either, you know, as far as a starting point. Like I said before, man, I look at guys who I grew up with who, you know, went to smaller schools, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, Division I schools to play sports and stuff like that. Now our coaches, you know, at D1 schools
Big
or,
time.
you know what I'm saying, and being able to, because again, you create by these environments, the camaraderie, the unity that you have as a team, you create such good habits.
You do, bro.
To whereas once you get to be older and you're an
Set you
adult,
up.
you know what I'm saying? You know what it's like creating a routine for yourself.
Yeah,
you know
bro.
what it's like handling adversity. You know what I'm saying? You've been
That's the
through all
biggest
these things and you've been tested in many ways, you know, early on in your life for things not being able to go your way and so on and so forth. So as you get older, you can relate and lean on that, even from as far as, you know, working with people.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Some people don't be a part of a team until they're an adult.
Yeah, bro.
You know, and
That's
then
true.
you're in a corporate space and it's like you've never really worked with
that's
nobody or had to express yourself properly to somebody as like, hey, bro, like I need this from you. You know what I'm saying? And me getting this from you will help me be a better version of me. It's like people don't even know how to have those conversations because they haven't been able to do something as a group, you know. So sometimes when people, you know, it's so hard for people to go into work and like, you know, the bigger picture is just them getting through the day. Rather, when you are on a team, when you come from these different backgrounds, you're able to see a big picture. You know what I'm saying? And to see how you fit in that picture.
One last question about the sports. How did you decide football, basketball? What made you?
Football kind of chose me.
Okay.
There you go.
Basketball, I could have went to some small schools, but it was a point in time, I would say like my junior year. And it's funny because I remember going to some AAU tournaments in Vegas, LA, you know, and, you know, playing against people that are nice, you know what I'm saying? Nice. And granted, I was, you know what I'm saying? I felt like I was kind of nice too, but it was a point in time, you know, I specifically remember we were going, I want to say maybe to Ohio or something, you know, so our AAU team, you know, had kids from the city, from the suburbs, prep schools, Detroit Persian, public schools. You know, I remember just being on that bus, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of looking around and being like, damn, like everybody is, you know what I'm saying, like going for kind of the same spot and the same thing. But for me, I was so different in football. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know what? Let me actually, and one of my coaches used to always joke with me and say, you can go to college for football. And I used to tell him all the time, like, not happening. You know what I'm saying? But it was it was something that just kind of clicked going into my junior year where I'm like, you know what? Like, everything about me on the football field was different. You know what I'm saying? Like basketball, I was just kind of like, when I say I fit in, like my size compared to others. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of just blended in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like at that size and stuff. But once I got on the field, I was a different breed, you know.
Talk that talk, man. Nah, real rap though, man. Like, I think it's special to look back at, it's always good to reflect, bro.
For sure,
like,
for sure.
You know, having this conversation, just talking about this, man, it make me think about it. I know Kenny's sitting there thinking about, damn, man, when I was a kid, like I'm thinking about how I transitioned, how I made my own decision, man. That was a great question because, like, you ask yourself that question, like, damn, like, how did I actually make the choice?
Sometimes it's hard to reflect.
No, it really is, man. Showtime speaks, man. As we hop into the segment, we call this the picture video segment, bro. So we're gonna go through a little deeper into your life. You're a big time family guy. Your parents are everything to you, bro. Your dad, your pops, your moms. You show them a lot of love, man. This picture right here. Just talk about your relationship and everything, man. Because go ahead, man. I'm gonna let you have the floor.
Yeah.
Bro.
I mean, my parents have been very instrumental, and overly supportive, and I'm always extremely grateful and appreciative of that. Whether if that's them coming to a game when I'm, playing as a true freshman, but not playing, them driving 7.5 hours, through snowstorms, just to see me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm dressed, but I ain't playing, you know what I'm saying? So they've supported me across the board, and always kept me humble and kept me grounded. And that's kind of where it started. Again, for me, I was blessed to have a great foundation, again, for my dad to have me involved in sports competitively, since I was 5 years old, so kind of being able to continuously grow and mold that background, and by the time I was 8 years old, it was just go, what I'm saying? I didn't know anything, different, from my competitive nature, from work habits and stuff like that. I tell everybody, man, like for me, basketball practice at 8 years old was like 3-hour practices. You know what I'm saying? 3-hour practices. First 30 minutes is pure conditioning. We running stairs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a well organized machine. And just for my pops to be able to have foresight and some of the guys who I was around in that group. I think about our 8 and 9 year old team. We actually, I want to say 9 years old, we had a crazy year. I think out of maybe like 300 or so teams that qualified down in Florida for like the AAU Nationals, I think we finished 5th or 6th.
That's tough.
But thinking back to that team, man, I would probably say 95% of guys on that team, went Division I. And now looking at it now, it's like, guys, like I said before, are college coaches.
Yeah, bro.
One just retired from playing in NFL. Another one's playing overseas.
Yeah, bro.
Actually 2 are playing overseas. Now one was drafted to the NBA. So being around that group of guys, I think that we can all look back at it, at 8 and 9 years old and say that, our parents, each other, we had a crazy bond and we just kind of pushed each other. We had practices where, again, we were so competitive, man. At 9 years old, man, you had to separate guys. You know what I'm saying? That's at 9. You know what I'm saying? You had guys like, mind you, like we were like brothers, but a hard practice, you're gonna have guys fighting people, hard fouls. And this is 9-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? So we were like, you know what I'm saying, we were very hungry, and I feel like our parents kind of, breeded that in us. But at the same time, like I said before, they would push us to the limits. When I say push us to the limits, again, man, you talking if we lose in a tournament early, the next day, we're gonna find a track, we're gonna find a trail, we're running, what I'm saying, Indian run, medicine balls, what I'm saying, all kind of stuff, what I'm saying. But the next day or whatever, they may take us to an arcade, what I'm saying, and we have a pizza.
Love,
So
it was like
it was a great balance of, the seriousness, the competitiveness, and it was on the edge as far as, how much, and me and my buddies talk about that all the time, is like, how much do you push your kid? For us, it was on the edge. But at the same time, they also found the ways to, make sure that we were still, being kids and still, being able to have those experiences, But again, we were definitely pushed to the limit early.
Yeah, bro.
Now, I got a question, and it's not off topic, but can you talk about when your parents made that decision? Because you're from the inner city, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about when your parents made that decision to put you went to a private school,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was just talking about that because I was back in Detroit last weekend. That was hard, it was hard for me at first. I think it was an easy decision for my parents, just based on growing up and being in the inner city. It's so many different things that's pulling you, in the wrong direction. And at that point in middle school, going from 7th grade to 8th grade, for me, it's a lot of people that, when we were in the 4th and 5th grade, we were all hooping and playing football and stuff. And now we in the 7th grade, they outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, they not playing sports no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They trying to make some money. You know what I'm saying? They outside doing what they doing, and for my parents, they like, nah, like we gotta get you out of that environment. You know, and for me, it was about, you know, I thought I could still thrive in that environment, and you know, who knows if I would have been able to or not. But sure enough, I went to high school about an hour and some change. Outside the city from where I lived at, you know, and even for me, you know, like my freshman, sophomore year and stuff, before some of my friends started driving, you know, our school would send a bus to the city to pick up about 15 or 16 of us, and then we would carpool home. Wow. You know, so again, that was, you know, that took some time getting adjusted to. For sure. You know, again, I mean, it was just, you know, it was a lot, but it was for the best. You know, 100%. Once I kind of got out there, and it was also something that, for me, it was the first time I had been in an environment where I could say at the school that I was going to, like, hey, this is what I want to do. And they've seen it done before. Which I think was a huge difference from being in middle school. And I would tell people all the time, like, you know, I want to go to the league. And everybody sit there and laugh. You know what I'm saying? And for me, one thing that I've even learned being an adult for kids is, like, that's kind of how we were talking about earlier. You know, like, just, you know what I'm saying, not shooting down kids' dreams and stuff like that. Because, again, it's a perspective, and that can go very far. You know, once I got to high school, it's like, all right, like, I want to go to the league. And they like, all right, that's cool, but first you got to get to college. You know what I'm saying? So now, cool, now we've kind of, you know, compartmentalized. We're coming up with a plan where, okay, cool, like,
this is how we going to get to
how do we do that? You know what I'm saying? So now we're going through everything. Okay, grades have to be a certain level. You have to be performing at a certain level. You know what I'm saying? So now, cool, grades. Now summer workouts, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm pushing myself, but I have milestones that I know can be checked off to get me to this point, because when I came into high school, they had just had a senior class that graduated that probably had maybe 15 players go high major. You know what I'm saying? Like, that were a part of that team. You know, like a couple kids go to Iowa, Purdue, Florida State, Ohio State.
Your school produced them. That high school.
Yeah. So, and again, I think that's, you know, that's changed. You know, that changed a lot for me. You know, and I always, you know, special shout out to my high school, Ultra Lake St. Mary's, man. They knew what needed to be done, you know, and being able to finally be in an environment like that, you know, it was a huge difference.
That's love, man, because, you know, you talk about the inner city stuff, and I went to a public school, bro. Like, we had teachers as our coaches, and, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, we got what we could. They gave us what they knew. And, you know, it was hard throughout that way. But, like, I'm seeing, like, schools like LaSalle, schools like St. Joe's Prep, all these schools that got more help to help guide these kids to take them towards and get them closer to their dreams. I do think high school is very, very important, because that's where the foundation is really laid, man. And, you know, a big testament to you, Kenny, because, like, bro, he's been working with the LaSalle team for the last 2 years. And just like, I went out there and I gave a speech to them the other day, and I'm seeing Kenny like go, like he trained NFL dudes, CFL, professional athletes, lacrosse people, this, that. And these kids is being blessed to have that with the discipline, the drive, because Kenny has seen what it looks like to get to that. So he's like instilling it in these kids, and hearing, you know, that you went to a private school to kind of go get that. You know, big shout out to your mom, your pops.
And again, man, it's such a big thing, you know, because it's about the culture that's being created. Like, granted, you know, I came from a good, you know, culture before I got to high school. As far as, I tell everybody all the time, you know, my little league or grade school basketball coached us harder than any coach I've ever had in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been coached as hard as like from 9 to 13 or 9 to 4. Really like 6 to like 14. How I was coached at 6 to 14. Anybody who coached me after that, it's been a breeze, you know, and that's part of, you know, the culture and stuff. And again, that's kind of where it started. So once I got to high school, it was a very, very disciplined program, organization, you know, which I kind of started to change it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Once I kind of got there my senior year, different color socks and so on and so forth. You know, it was some ways, you know, that I continuously tried to, you know, push the envelope a little bit, you know, and what made it so cool about that is, you know, my school kind of, you know, allowed me to kind of push the culture a little bit. You know what I'm saying? When they saw what I was putting in as far as, you know, work-wise, you know, kind of where I wanted to go and where I was headed, and some of the people that I was bringing along with me, they allowed us to change the culture a little bit.
I love it, man. So, like, let's fast forward, man. Let's go, like, we talk about the high school stuff, and before we even show the picture, Matt, you had a big decision to make to go to college, bro. And we talking about one of the best places to play, one of the best, greatest like stadiums to play in. I'm talking about the energy, and I'm big on it because, you know, I didn't go there, and I wish I could have been able to go there, but I don't know if I would have survived if I went there. But my brother went there, and I got a chance to come up and see a blue and white game. And when we talking about Penn State, when we talking about that place, like, what went into the decision? How did you feel? Just talk about your experience there and what it meant to you, bro. Big shout out to the sponsor, Cozy Jeweler, the jeweler that keeps us cool. Oops, I meant cozy. Stop playing. Step up to the 5 C's. Color, clarity, cut, carrot, cozy, diamond, diamond, diamond. And big shout out to Shuyans, man. Oh my goodness, man. Super, super excited about this new venture. The Shuyan family, full service clothing and formal wear for boys to men, from tuxedos to your favorite fitted suits. Because if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good. You can visit them at ShuyansClothing.com, and also located 1201 Buck Road, Feasterville, Pennsylvania. Listen, go check them out. If you want to get suited and booted, you want to be fitted real nice, listen, go to Shuyans. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Man, for me, it was easy. You know, and I say it was easy as far as the decision-making process, because, again, for me, I had I was very biased because, again, my high school quarterback went there. You know what I'm saying? So he was, like, committed there since he was a sophomore. So I used to go up there with him all the time, and I'm looking at their receiving room and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I could play. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't, you know what I'm saying? My high school quarterback already coming up here, and you know what I'm saying? They're recruiting me. You know what I'm saying? Like they rock with me. You know, the receiver coach that was there, you know, he knew I could play. He knew I brought a little bit different, brought something different to the room. Energy, yeah. A lot of the guys that were there before I got there were actually receivers who kind of their secondary sport or background was track. You know what I'm saying? So when I got there, you know, I moved a little different, you know what I'm saying? But even with me kind of scoping out the lay of the land as far as, you know, what schools were interested in me, where I want to go. And the number one thing that I had on my list was I want to play. I didn't even care if I had to, right away. I want to play. Like, I didn't even care if I went to a smaller school. You know, like, my thing was I wanted to play. So, you know what I'm saying? My high school quarterback went there the year before I did. So for me, I was like, you know, and he started as a true freshman. He was the first true freshman black quarterback to ever start for Joe Paterno in the history. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was not only the first freshman quarterback, but then once you started continue to say, like, all these milestones, they had never had a black quarterback as a freshman either, as far as play. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And he started. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of stuff where I was like, all right, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can rock with that. I can, everything just was kind of trending towards, like, all right, like, that's kind of where I need to be. And granted, he ended up transferring when all the sanctions and stuff happened, you know, which was very crazy. And even for myself, you know, I didn't play as much as I thought I should. My freshman year, like, my receiver coach would always tell me, like, listen, like, your time coming. And actually the week that everything kind of came down and kind of hit the fan was week 9, I believe, my freshman year. We were going into that week coming off a bye against Nebraska. When I say something happened, like, our receiver coach got into it, one of our receivers, and he like, listen, like, I've been kind of waiting to do this all year. He went up there on the board, boom, 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 had me in the starting lineup. You know what I'm saying? Like, that week. But granted, we had...
That's how it be, yo.
That was the week that sparked the sanctions. That was the week Joe Paterno stepped down. So it was like the week that I was supposed to come in and starting, all this stuff happened. I think I had a catch on the first drive, but like our assistant receiver coach kind of took over. He just started kind of playing some of the older guys. So for me, once I was just kind of reevaluating after the season, you know, I was gonna go to a small school. You know what I'm saying? I had no problem with that. I just want to play. I'm like, I know I could play. Like, I would line up in one-on-ones and stuff during training camp. And mind you, whole time going into training camp my freshman year, I'm 17. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm having a great camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time I call my parents, my dad, like, yo, like, what they gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they gonna redshirt you? I'm playing. Like, I'm playing. Nah, like, you know what I'm saying? My first catch came a week. I had just turned 18. My first catch came against Bama.
Yo, That's
you know what I'm
crazy.
saying? So
yo.
once I had my first catch against Bama, I had just turned 18. I'm like, it's up.
Yeah.
It's up. You know, I'm out there, Drake, you know what I'm saying? Drake Kirkpatrick, Mark Barron.
Yeah, yo.
You know what I'm saying? Julio Jones, Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Talk.
And I'm in the stat book too. You know what I mean? Like,
Come on.
I had just turned 18. Granted, we lost. I remember going back to my dorm. Like, it's up. It's up. I'm going back to the dorm.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yo.
I'm going back to the dorm. Like, it's up.
Yo, Penn State, man, just talk, bro. How did you survive going there,
Yeah,
bro?
man, it was a crazy experience. You know, I think that even sometimes looking back at it, me and my buddies, you know, we talk. I don't think we didn't realize it was as big as it was, you know.
Man,
like at that, you know what I'm saying? Like I was 17, just turning 18. That following spring when the sanctions came down was going into my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So we had just got Bill O'Brien in, you know. Once he got there, I started out because, mind you, I'm young. I wasn't a high, you know, prospect and so on and so forth. So when Bill O'Brien got there, I'm like bottom of the depth chart. You know what I'm saying?
For
like,
real.
yeah, bottom, bruh. Bottom. Granted, again, I was a 3-star recruit. You know what I'm saying?
He was bringing in his guys.
He was bringing in his staff and stuff, but he was kind of just like going through everything. Okay, who's played? You know what I'm saying? For the people who haven't played, you know what I'm saying? We got some 4-star recruits, some 5-star recruits. So for me, I kind of but as we went through spring ball, we get to the spring game. After the spring game, I'm starting. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, but for me, the cream always rises. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man. Talk that talk, man.
So for me, it was just, you know, pushing and continuing to get better. And once I was named a starter, 2 weeks before training camp going into my sophomore year was when the actual sanctions kicked in.
Yeah.
Where guys could freely transfer and so on and so forth. We had probably 8 to 10 guys of our starters transfer. Silas Redd transferred.
Yeah, he was
Justin Brown transferred. These guys are going to USC, Oklahoma, Texas. And I'll never forget it. You know, me and some of my close buddies who were in the same freshman class, and mind you, half of us, it was like 6 of us that were super tight. 3 played, 3 redshirted. And I remember sitting there talking to them, being like, man, like, so what we gonna do? You know, and everybody was kind of thinking through different decisions. And then one day, I think it was my buddy, shout out to Adrian Amos. I think he was the first one that said, like, I'm staying. You know, and then, because we had like Arizona State. I'll never forget it. We was in our apartment. We had just moved to our apartment as sophomores. We going to our sophomore year. We like, you know, like everything kind of, all of us after spring brawl was kind of starting. Like, we was, you know what I'm saying? Because we was good, but Joe didn't like playing young players, which I didn't kind of, once my quarterback started, I didn't know how much, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I thought that was just kind of, you know what I'm saying, out the window. But Joe didn't really like playing freshmen, you know what I'm saying?
He wanted to develop.
But we were all pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Like in the 6 guys in this freshman class, you know, again, we all bonded, but we all end up having stints.
Let's pull up the picture, man.
We all end up having stints in the NFL. You know, that's the kind of group.
The Super Six, man.
Yeah,
The Super Six, man.
And
while we're on that subject, man, let's talk about that group. You talking about it, Deion Barnes, Amos.
It was
all of that, man.
It was such a dope group, man. And for me, I was probably the furthest away from home. Out of everybody in that group, everybody kind of grew up in the DMV area.
Yeah, bro.
Jersey, Philly, Delaware, Baltimore. You know, so for me, kind of coming into the mix, we was all competitive. How we really started to click was the first week we got up there as freshmen, being in the dorms. Like, the dorm area has like courts.
Yep.
So we would be hooping. That's where it all started. And everybody, you know what I'm saying? Because we all kind of hoop. So, and everybody competitive juices got to going. And then once we kind of just took that camaraderie and stuff from that little quad in the dorm.
That's how it
to,
be.
you know what I'm saying? And we just kind of all was our accountability partners, you know? And, you know, everybody kind of had a little stint or touched the NFL to a certain degree, you know? But anytime, if I was, you know what I'm saying? If I wasn't on my P's and Q's, Deion gonna be like, hey, bro, like, pick it up.
1000%.
You know what I'm saying? Same with Amos, same with Bill, same with Kyle, you know, same with Donovan Smith. You know, we all really pushed each other. So fast forwarding now to our sophomore year, we're all starters. Mind you, I think everybody had accolades after that sophomore season. But going into that season, when the sanctions hit, Arizona State was the school that I mainly was kind of entertaining because they came with they called, right? And they had a guy coaches on their staff who had recruited that DMV area, who had already recruited a lot of the other homies as well. And then the receiver coach, he had recruited me because he used to be at Wisconsin. They like, yo, we have 8 scholarships. We want all 6 of y'all, Anthony Zetto and Jesse James. You know what I'm saying?
They trying to get all y'all.
And I'm like, now when they call with that, I'm like, hey, I'm like, this might be something we need to entertain. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this ain't no just, you know what I'm saying? We all gonna just, it's like, we can take this, extremely good group, who already has the camaraderie, who already has, you know what I'm saying, like that accountability amongst each other, and go to Arizona State. I'm like, hey man, this might be something that we should, consider. Yeah. And then after that, Adrian was the first one. He was like, I'm staying. And then once he was staying, and Deion said he was staying. And then once that happened, it was like we staying. And then we went to Bill O'Brien's office actually. Wow. And I had texted Bill because I would probably say I had the closest relationship with Bill. By him being an offense guy, we talked all the time. He used to coach receivers in New England. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That camaraderie.
Yeah. So me and Bill had a good camaraderie. I texted him like, hey, like we want to come to your office. We came to his office. And he was a little shook. You know what I'm saying? He even tell you that we like, Coach, we gonna stay. And he like, he took a deep sigh. He was like, bro, y'all better not ever come to my office like that no more, bro. He's like, if y'all got some big news or something like that, bro, just call or text me. He like, man, don't come in my office. And then, you know what I'm saying? He like, because I guess he thought we was going to leave, you know? So from that point forward, it was just kind of up.
No, that's love, bro. That's a like college days, man, where you get to really reflect on those times and just hearing you talk about it, man. Like,
and playing for Bill was,
bro, you was out there acting goofy,
and that was Bill, bro. Listen, man, I've had some coaches who have really pushed to bring something out of me as a player, and I'm very fortunate for that. Like, I remember after my sophomore season, I think I had 1,000 yards, maybe I think 70 some catches. Led the Big Ten in touchdown, was all Big Ten and so on and so forth.
All that.
Because we didn't have bowl games, so our winter conditioner started early. And if you miss class, you have 4 a.m. workouts, you know what I'm saying? But me and Bill never had no issue. Like, I never missed no class where Bill like, yo, you got to work out at 4. So first workout after my sophomore season, mind you, I just had a crazy sophomore, like, you know what I'm saying? I broke school records, everything.
He was acting crazy.
Bill, like, these people got 4 a.m. workouts tomorrow. Daquan Jones, who ended up going to the league, me, and somebody else. And he was like, it's not up for discussion. I'm not finna talk about it. Just see y'all there at 4. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I ain't missed no class or nothing like that, man. As soon as we get in that workout, he in my face, last year is over. It's over. If you think you're going to be better than receivers at Michigan State, 1000%. Ohio State, you know what I'm saying? Last year is over. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going through the whole workout. He right there literally next to me. I'm like, bro, other people in here working out, bro, too.
He saw it.
He saw it right there, like, man, like, so what is going, like, you know what I'm saying? And granted, it was more so kind of like a punishment, like, finish to the workout, and once I got to actually finish my workout, I didn't have to do like the I guess punishment part, if you will. He like, you know what I'm saying, like you good to go. But situations like that, build me and Bill relationship because, I never gave him no pushback. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, on no situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when he's like, all right, you working out at 4, it's like, I ain't missed no class, but it's like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never was. So me and Bill kind of had that connection and stuff like that, just even to the point where it was quarterback decisions and stuff, he'll call me like, hey man, who you want to play? And he like, I'm gonna tell one of them to transfer, you know what I'm saying, who you feel good with.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yo, I feel good with this guy. He's like, cool, me too, we on the same page. I'm gonna tell Stephen Bench, he gonna have to start looking for another school.
That's crazy.
Man, I love these stories, man. These is them archive stories that you really don't get a chance to like really hear, especially
and that was dope. Him challenging me like that, constantly.
Bro, you need and those kind of coaches. My coach was like that in college, who helped me get to the league. Who helped me? Like he would threaten me with like, not threaten me, but like, oh, I got this guy coming from D2, D1 school. I'm at a D3 school, so he telling me this, that, and the third. I'm like, what? What you mean? Like he used to pull up to the crib, he had his door, like just trying to challenge me, saying, I need you to do this or do that. And I didn't really play that much my freshman year. He made me come in on blocking plays, and it just was he built me up. Just hearing you talk about Bill O'Brien and that whole situation, man, those stories those is memories that you remember for the rest of your life, man.
Yeah, man. I give Bill a lot of credit to just, he was a huge building block in my career. Playing in a pro style offense in college and being moved around and have to learn concepts and option routes and seeing different things like that. For him challenging me, he'll send me cut ups during college of Wes Welker, Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah, bro.
And my receiver coach, he came from Washington, but he also coached in Buffalo. So I would have Stevie Johnson cut ups, So I was able to have so much to be able to watch over the course of a summer. And for me, I'm just up there taking class anyway. So I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be in the book, in the indoor, what I'm saying? I'm getting it in and I'm literally just trying stuff. Like on Saturdays and stuff, we got 7-on-7. I was a person where on weekends and stuff, I'm gonna try to get in at least probably like 50 to 100 one-on-ones. You know what I'm saying? Like the one-on-ones.
Talk to us, man.
I want to see like one-on-ones.
Real rap.
That's for me. That's what took my game to
and
another level.
And that's what, bro. And that's what you can see throughout your career, and even when you got to the pros. And we about to talk about that coming up, bro. Like you 1-on-1, I ain't gonna cap, bro. Different.
Listen, for me, I've been able to have that. And I say this year, I'm saying, them young dudes in Detroit, TA, no, Terrion Arnold, no, you feel me? You see me, listen, you put me out there on a 1-on-1, you know what I'm saying? I got something for you.
Let me tell you something,
bro. I got
bro.
something for you.
I'm with Craig, and that was one of the first things he said. He said he got them routes, though.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna cap. You taught me a lot. That when I went to these different places, when I went to Canada, when I went to these, bro, this dude don't drop that football, man. Like, I'm talking about, like, bro, like, the strong hands, that energy, bro. Like, you helped me in my career, man, because, like, that stuff that you used to do, I remember one time, we about to start talking about Jacksonville right now because you got drafted. Let's just go there because we got so many different stories, man.
Yeah.
You get your name called, bro, 61. And I know it's some backlash to it, like why you ain't go first round. How did you feel about going to Jacksonville? How did you feel about going to the second round? Talk about that feeling, what it meant to you, bro.
I thought I would probably go in the second round.
Yeah.
Going into it, you can kind of like fill out something from the league and you get it back and they say like where you gonna get projected once you kind of like submit your tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never looked at that. I told my parents, like, once I declare for the draft, I don't care about nothing else. I don't care where they got me projected. I don't care about nothing.
Hold on. You leave early.
I'm glad you brought that up. So speaking to me and Bill's relationship,
yeah,
even how that came about, I was going to stay for my senior year. As crazy as that may sound now, like looking back at it, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, even about to stay was like ridiculous looking back at it.
Man, that's crazy.
I mean, it was, my stock was at the highest that it was going to be at in college. My junior year, I think I had like 90-some catches, like 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
So as far as just what I could do in college again,
it was like,
but I didn't have nobody kind of aggressively pushing me to come out. Nobody had came out early from Penn State for a while. Like I want to say the last person before me maybe was like Aaron Mabin. So I didn't even have like nobody to talk to when it came to what I should do or not. So I had talked to Bill O'Brien. He had kind of, geeked me up to coming back. I was going to be able to play both ways, which was something that we had talked about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait. You was going to play both ways at Penn State?
Yeah.
Corner or safety?
Corner. So that's something that me and Bill had talked about. Because he knew that I wanted to play both ways. I had been wanting to play both ways since I was a sophomore. When he first got up there my sophomore year.
Come on, man. That's exclusive right there, bro. That's exclusive. Thank you for that, bro.
And again, I got some people who can, attest to this. But like my sophomore year, like when we would do in the summertime, spring ball and stuff like that, like one-on-ones, I'm playing receiver and corner. You know what I'm saying? And Bill O'Brien, when he first got there, he just like, nah, like I can't. Like once I started starting and stuff like that, he's like, you can't get hurt. We already have sanctions and everything like that. Because the DB coach wanted me to play corner too. He like, listen, man, we get him in there on some third down packages and stuff like that. When we in some man situations, we can,
playing man to man?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like,
yo, he drawing, yo.
Man press.
Yo, this boy crazy, yo. So that's why you know how to really
So
bro.
And again, and for me, at that time, having long arms, being able to press and stuff like that, you can actually be a little bit more physical as
1000%,
in college. Until the ball's in the air. So for me, it was some things that was advantage. So like, when we would go one-on-ones and stuff at corner, man, I ain't gonna lie, I used to hold my own at corner. You know what I'm saying? So our DB coach, when they play corner, Bill, like, nah. But once that came up, he's like, listen, we had already talked going into my junior year. He's like, listen, next year, you do your thing again. You know what I'm saying? You come back for your senior year. You know what I'm saying? Like we we're gonna have the packages in place. We know where we want to play you at, so on and so forth. We're gonna get through this season and we'll readdress that. So me, Bill, and my parents met, after that season. We had it all in place. Classes was set up. We'll be playing both ways, so on and so forth.
But
So I'm gonna get to that. So then I go home for Christmas break. Yeah, because we don't have no bowl game or nothing. So I get a long little vacation. I'm at the crib. Coming off a good junior year. Bill calls me. New Year's Eve is me and two of my close buddies. We're on our way to a New Year's Eve party. You know what I'm saying? So Bill calls me. Hey, just want to let you know I'm gonna take the Houston Texans job. He was like, I want to call you first before you heard it from anybody else. Penn State's gonna get a good coach in there. He was like, I think, he was like, if you want to stay, I think that would be good as well. They're gonna get a good coach. But he's like, I also think that you're ready to come out if you do want to make that decision, But I just want to let you know first. And we're in the car. It's funny. I told my homies when I answered the call, yo, turn down the music.
Damn,
Stomach drop. As soon as I in the car, they like, yo, like, who is it?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to the league. I'm going to the league. So shout out my homie Shane and Evan. They were the first two people with me. When I declared. I remember again New Year's Eve being a little lit. You know what I'm saying? I actually tweeted that night like it's been real, Penn State. And sure enough, I woke up the next day. I think it was New Year's Day. I talked to my parents. And we, that was what we were gonna do. And also, which is kind of back to the spiritual part of life for me. Like I remember telling my mom, being back home over Christmas break, I was like, I don't know if going back is the right thing. Like this is like before because for me, I just was kind of, and my entire junior year, man, I would just embrace little things. Like when it was senior day, I remember when the seniors were coming out with their parents and families and stuff, and I'm in the stadium. I specifically remember thinking just like, like take it all in. Like this could be the last time I play here in Beaver Stadium. I hadn't, again, it was no pressing issue, but for me, it was a possibility. Just with the way that things was going on. Again, I know it was a lot of different things that could make that possible. And my mom, when I told her like I'm not sure, as far as going back, and this was before Bill O'Brien called and everything. And she was like, just pray on it. And that's what my mom kept telling me. And sure enough, like a half a week later, Bill called me and said he was gone. I'm like, that was
going to the league.
Yeah, that was all I needed.
Going straight to the league.
Yeah.
So you get to Jacksonville, bro. And the first year you were a rookie.
Yeah, I actually got hurt my first year.
Okay,
and even going into the draft, going into the second day of the draft, I'm like, three teams I didn't want to go to was at the time Oakland, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. And them was the three teams I didn't want to go to. So I told my pops, like, as long as I don't go to Oakland, Jacksonville, or Cleveland, I'm good. Jacksonville drafted Marquise Lee early in the second round. So I was like, cool. They off the board.
I thought they were in the first round.
Nah, they drafted him early second. They
early second, and then got you later. Yeah.
So they draft Marquise Lee. I'm like, cool. It went Derek Carr went to Oakland.
Yep.
I forget who Cleveland drafted. Then Jacksonville drafted Marquise. So I'm like, cool. Them three off the board, I'm good. I'm sitting back comfortable. As the draft's going on, I see people coming off the board, more people coming off the board. Now I'm hot. You know what I'm saying? Now at this point, I didn't think I was gonna go in. You know what I'm saying? We getting toward the back of round 2. And I'm seeing people that was played in my conference and everything. And I'm like, so I end up stepping outside my draft party. And I was hot, and I'm just outside sitting on like a little planter, just following the draft on my phone or whatever. People are texting me, like, I'm saying, a couple people text me like, yo, like, you good, whatever. So I'm cool at this point. I'm obviously frustrated, but I'm sitting there. I had took a top 30 to Indy, and Indy told me like, hey, if you on the board, we don't have a first round pick, but if you there when we pick, we drafted you. You know what I'm saying? At that time they had Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton,
Reggie Wayne was still there.
Reggie Wayne was still there. So I'm sitting there. I see the picks, going through. I see a couple people, come off. I was hot. Then I see Colts pick come up. My phone ring. So I'm like, all right, that's not a bad situation. I went a little later than I thought. They like, it's Jacksonville. I'm like, what? I saw, so mind you, they like, we drafted you, whatever. Right after that, I called my agent. I was like, yo, Jacksonville just said they drafted me.
Yeah.
He like, yeah, they traded up.
It was
they
a
gonna
prank
draft
call.
you. I thought it was a prank call because they had just drafted Marquise Lee.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know how many teams at that point, or I would be curious to know how many teams since then, if anybody has drafted two receivers in the second round or that early.
Yeah.
With two of they top 60 picks. You know what I'm saying? So they traded back into the first round, and even how that story kind of came about. Houston was actually picking soon, and they said that they wanted to jump in front of Houston
because they were going to get you.
Yeah, so but once I got there, I was happy. I was there with a good group of guys. Like I said, like Marquise Lee, we actually had both played with Silas Redd. So we were kind of connected a little bit. And then my boy Allen Hurns, he was undrafted.
Bro.
Special shout out to Allen Hurns.
For real, man.
Special shout out to him. He was a dog, man. And not only that, but 88. He was undrafted. And our OC at the time had coached him in college.
Yeah.
So he had a very good familiarity with the offense.
Yeah.
And, he helped me out tremendously, and that was not something that he had to do, by me being a second round pick, him being undrafted, but again, he ended up killing, our rookie year. We both, ended up killing. I want to say before I got hurt, I had around 40 or 50 catches. Then I actually broke my foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out, for the rest of the year going into my second year. And then, after that, it was just kind of, things was up, man.
Things was up. That back, I told you, like I said earlier, that back shoulder fade, Blake Bortles and A-Rob, undefeated.
Yeah, and again, we had some, going into that second year, again, me and Hurns and Marquise,
and Rashad Green.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that. Yeah, that group was crazy. I learned so much from everybody.
We had a young group, but we held each other so accountable.
1,000%.
And that's across the board. Like we're young dudes. When it came to practice, training camp, food, no matter what, you know what I'm saying? We taking turns going to get food for the room.
Yeah.
We embraced a lot of things that we heard that vets and stuff would do, but we didn't have no vet. So we kind of had to do it on our own. Even for us, we probably split the rookie dinner like 5 ways between us 3, and we had 2 rookies like on IR.
Mm-hmm.
So we had such a young group.
I remember, did we go to Root? No, I wasn't there. I'm trying to think. That second year, I know we went as a group. Yeah. We went to Roof Chris or something like that.
But, so for us, it was just, we leaned on each other, man. And sure enough, our second year, I caught for 1,400. Allen Hurns caught for 1,100.
Yeah.
Me and Allen, we would, talk all the time. We would watch. It's funny because we would watch, at the time, B. Marsh and Decker. And every week they would go off. Every week, and we would see them as a duo. They would have 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and me and Hurns always be like, hey, all right, so, what I'm saying? Today, you feel me? That we were trying to outplay receiver groups, and then I think the big moment for us was we were going into the Jets week, and I know it was like a big week. They had, it was me and Hurns, and they had Revis and Cromartie. So it was
that was a big deal.
It was a big deal, for us going into the game. Me being a second year guy, Revis matched me the whole game.
I remember this.
Cromartie matched him the whole game. I had, I think, 6 for 120.
Yeah,
Hurns had like 7 for like 125.
I wanted to ask you too. Who's the
Revis? Revis is the best corner I played against. It was the hardest 120 yards I ever had in the league. With just how he played, games are such one-on-one, and he's guarding me the entire game.
Disruptive. Yeah.
So he's outside leverage, inside leverage, quick jam, hard press, inch back, off, press bail. I'm getting so many looks in a span of 60 snaps. Normally, you like you don't have players who are, playing you like them. Mind you, he's playing me. If I'm at number 3 in the slot, he's there. Number 2 in the slot, he's there. Yeah. Number 1, So it was,
he followed you
the entire game.
Yeah,
and then kind of after that, I think that was one of his first jersey swaps, if not the first. But we definitely went at it, man. After the game, you know, that's kind of when I feel like I took my game to another level off the line of scrimmage. Because after the game, he was just telling me, like, listen, man, like, every time you line up, be in control at the line of scrimmage.
Bro.
You know, when I say be in control of the line of scrimmage, that's kind of where I took my game to another level.
You did.
Because every time I lined up, when it came to press,
I'm telling you,
I had it in my mind, I'm giving you something that you got to take.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would get to a plan B if that came up. But I was at the point, you know, just from my press reps and stuff like that, where I already knew at the line of scrimmage, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna give people stuff that they gonna take.
No,
like,
1,000%, bro. So as we get a little deeper into everything, man, this next video, you've had success, things were going, and then you have a moment where, you know, things start to shift and things start to change.
Every single time I'm going through pain, I remember that I've gone through pain since I was a kid. I draw from it. Recycle your pain. Get something from it. You already in pain. Use it. Do something with it. Allow it to take you to the next level. Allow your pain to push you to greatness. I challenge you. I challenge you. I challenge you to be the best you can be. Your limitations don't exist in my world. Those are your limitations. Keep them. Go home, watch them on TV. Go home, read the newspaper about. Go home and look in the mirror. Go home, call your homeboy, and y'all talk about your limitations. I ain't got none.
Talk about it, man.
Yeah, man, that was tough, man. That was extremely tough. I was going into my contract year. It was something that I like. That entire training camp and leading up to that training camp was, you know, I went to Charlotte. Actually, I trained with Randy Moss for 6 weeks. It would just be me and him, you know, doing everything, running, hills, skill work, everything. So I pushed myself to the limit, you know, to get to that point. And I remember first third down of the game, you know, I knew the ball was coming to me. They was running quarters. I saw the safety cheating over to number 3. I knew I was gonna have a one-on-one. Sure enough, 1 catch, 18 yards. And I got pushed in my back. It was kind of like non-contact. So when I came down, I didn't think it was ACL. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what it was because it was painful, but it wasn't. I knew it was something though. So they tell me to go down. They're checking me, and then the doc's like, I think it's your ACL. I'm like, no way. And I remember getting to the locker room, you know, and I sat down. You know, it was probably the first time, you know, in a long time that I had kind of, you know, shed some tears, you know, I had, you know, and was grieving, you know, but I told myself, you know, I was gonna give myself that moment to grieve, you know, and then after that I wasn't going, you know, it was, you know, the next chapter. And from that moment forward, you know, it was me rebuilding myself. But it was, I'm not gonna say it was good, but it was something that kind of, I think was slightly necessary for my career. You know, at that point in time where Jacksonville was headed in the direction that they was headed in, you know, I wanted to expand my game, and I didn't know if I would be able to continue to do that in Jacksonville anyway. So I know, like, even going into that season, there was a possibility of me being traded. But I really didn't, you know, I wasn't really kind of pushing for it. But at the same time, you know, I knew where I wanted to take my game. So kind of that moment for me was what I would kind of say, you know, slightly like kind of like Kobe going from 8 to 24. You know, I was a different beast when I was 15 in Jacksonville as far as what I brought to the table. But then once I got to Chicago and I kind of
that's when I knew
revitalized and rebuilt my career.
Let's talk about
you know,
it.
then I really became a route runner for real. You know what I'm saying? Like in Jacksonville, I could run routes, and you know, I was definitely a deep ball guy. Like my best year in Jacksonville, I had 1,400 yards off 80 catches. You know, so it was a lot of stretching the field. But once I got to Chicago, and being in that system and so on and so forth, it was a different beast.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Using that bag.
You know, and I went about that ACL process of, you know, revitalizing myself and so on and so forth, you know, with that being in mind, you know, because again, to play in the league a long time, you know, some guys stay injury free, but if you have stuff like that come up, you know what I'm saying, you got to figure out ways how to continue to change your game and being able to, you know, enhance what you have going on and so on and so forth. So once I got to Chicago, it was a different animal.
I love it, man. I was able to come out there for a game. I had just won my first championship when I left Winnipeg and I came down to see you. You was definitely in that bag out there. You was definitely the man out there, bro. You was on another level, bro. Just to watch it, to see you go to another level and see you get that injury and find a way to keep going. I think that was a pivotal moment in your career.
It was big, man. It was big for me just as far as the game. And I tell everybody all the time, people say they love the game. You can say you're a hard worker. You can say, as much as you want, but it's going to be a time where that's going to be tested.
Yeah.
And for me, that was that time. And I knew that was that time. I couldn't say that I stand on everything that I stand on, and then I get hurt, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just kind of like, finito. I knew that, that this is a time, this is a test, and it's going to be how can I come back from this? I was still relatively young. I was 24 at the time, so I knew that I had another chapter, just as far as what I could get to and what I could do.
And you came back and played that next season?
Yeah, I came back and played that next season. I had a solid year. Coming off of ACL, you still have some kind of lingering issues and stuff because it's hard to kind of, still nursing an ACL going into the next season. It's kind of hard to build your body to be able to play 16 games just from a soft tissue standpoint and stuff mostly. So I had a couple of soft tissue things come up. I had like a growing come up. But then, for me, every week I would feel a little bit better. And then sure enough, we was in the playoffs that year against Philly. And it was my first time because when I was in Jacksonville, we went to the playoffs. I was hurt. So it was my first time being in the playoffs. I remember telling my pops, the morning of the game day, it's like I waited my entire life to play in the playoffs in the NFL. And granted, we ended up losing. Our kicker hit the upright.
He did.
I remember that. I think that game I had 10 for 150. It was one of the best games I had that year. And for me, I knew it was just about, I remember meeting with our coaches the next day, and our head coach was like, listen, we gonna make sure that we had that come in every game next year. And sure enough, I think the next year I had 98 catches. I think the next year after that I had like 105 or something like that. So it was just continuing to ascend.
So while we on this subject, man, and I know we've been going, I just really want you to really talk about like, are you really that bull, cuz? Nah, like for real, like, and it's me giving you like your respect, your flowers.
I appreciate it.
Like, because like people don't give you enough credit for who you are and what you've done in this league, bro. Like, yo, you've been through a lot, bro.
I appreciate,
you know what I'm saying?
I think even with that, I tell people all the time, well, not all the time, just probably the first time I said this, publicly. I think for me, it's one of those things where, I've just kind of, when you're in the midst of it, you're, grinding and searching and looking forward so much, and for me, stepping into the league, my plan was, to have a Hall of Fame career, and granted, as I'm going through the midst of injury and different things, it can be frustrating, because, if it's, did my career go exactly how I wanted it to go, or has it gone exactly how I wanted it to go? No. But now I'm at the age and state where I look back and I reflect, and it's so much more, that I've been able to gain from that, from the experiences, handling adversity, going through different things, that have molded me to that, So, I'm at the point now again, man, looking back, it's one of those journeys where, I'm blessed, and I'm blessed for every step of the way. We had Gus Bradley in Jacksonville. He used to always say, man, treat both imposters the same, prosperity and adversity. And that's something that I've grown to live by, because I do, and looking at the adversity that I've had in my career and the prosperity I've had in my career, I'm very thankful and appreciative for both, because they've been able to mold myself, mentally and everything to get to where I'm at now.
No, yeah, man. Like, yo, let's paint the picture right now, man. You went from Penn State going to Jacksonville, second rounder, going to Chicago, like really like on the scene. Like people saying like, yo, you top 10 in the league, like top 15, like, and then things happen where you go a different place. You go to Pittsburgh, you go to LA.
Yeah.
Just talk about like those things where you had to really like, I'm not saying you got to take the back seat.
Yeah.
But like it became something different for you where it humbled you and it put you in a different space. Like how did you deal with that, bro?
At first it was tough. I think it was tough because, it started with me being franchise tag in Chicago. I went from the previous year, I want to say I had 150 targets with like 105 catches. Then I got franchise tag. I think I had 60 targets, So for me, it was, I'm sitting there, and I'm watching film and they're installing and plays aren't going to me, that they're installing of me making the plays. And obviously it's a business and that's a part of the business, but not only is that happening, we're losing. My entire time in Chicago, I never had a losing season until the year and I had 60 targets. So it was tough because I'm kind of going through this transition state, where they franchise tagged me to keep me there. It was already kind of frustrating being franchise tagged. Now we're losing, and then I go to LA and, they already have they kind of like, mix of players and so on and so forth. And, I had a phenomenal training camp there, probably one of the best training camps that I've had, but again, for whatever reason, we had some injuries. That was the year I ended up breaking my foot. I broke my other foot, actually, same exact injury that I had my rookie year on the other foot. So those 2 years were the toughest. I look at it like it was like a crazy, crazy storm. And once I got to Pittsburgh, it was like everything cleared up a little bit. And I say everything cleared up a little bit because, I played for Coach Tomlin, which was, that was the first time I actually played for a black coach since I was younger.
Wow.
And I say that because it was a person from the first day we met, he came in and said, man, be who you are. You know what I'm saying? We not looking to change you by any means, by anything. It's like, man, be who you are. We going to embrace you. And playing for Coach Tomlin, was the first time for me in a couple years that I had fun playing football again.
Yo, I used to watch those games, and I catch all them crazy catches, whatever. But bro, one of the biggest things I saw you doing in Pittsburgh, bro, I saw you freaking blocking, bro.
Yeah.
You used to insert through the gap.
Damn near ISO block.
ISO blocking, bro. Like that is where I say, yo, like, they rob different, bro.
And it was Tomlin, man. It was Tomlin because I had spent, the last 2 years being frustrated with just how things were going. And it was a lot of stuff that was out of my control. So once I got to Pittsburgh, just kind of the way that Tomlin is, man, and how he brings everybody together and just kind of motivates everybody. And at the time, I'm playing with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. And George Pickens is like a version of myself when I was in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? Like so for me, I automatically gravitated towards George with the plays he make and so on and so forth. I'm like, I didn't seen that before, and he might be a little nicer. So
like just natural. Yeah.
Man, George is
both of y'all though.
George is one of the most gifted. George is probably the most physically gifted receiver I've played with in the league.
1,000%.
Like there's not a play on the field he can't make. It's not a catch he can't make. It's not a route. Like I'm talking, I didn't see from ridiculous catches
that's high
to
praise,
taking
bro.
slants 75
that's
yards.
High praise, bro.
I've never seen anybody where if a quarterback, literally if he closed his eyes and threw it up, George, he gonna have a good opportunity to make the play. So for me, it was being in a room. That was also another thing. That was probably the best or most talented room I had been in a couple years as well. So being there with George and Deontay and them dudes kind of leaning on me, and we had a younger team. I had been around the block a little bit, and for me it was, I wasn't gonna be the reason, because again, for me, I like winning too. You know what I'm saying? So it's about getting a rock and all of that. But my first 3 years in Chicago, we didn't have a losing record. When I was my last year in Chicago, we had a losing record. My year in LA where everybody was hurt, we had a losing record.
Yeah.
So for me, my main thing was, I want to get myself back healthy and I want to get to these playoffs. That was my main, and by any means, So for us, we had some quarterback changes and different things like that. But, I had been there before, so me being able to have and being kind of the person in the room and in the offense that everybody could lean on to a certain degree, was huge, and that's across the board. So, granted, we end up, getting to the playoffs, and I think that's a team that's significantly underachieved. I think that we could have been a lot better. But that's when I feel like I first kind of, crossed over to whereas it's like, all right, like, I'm understanding of just, the league, my time, and so on and so forth. And it had nothing about me not being able to play. Right. And granted, I was coming off my foot injury, and it was a pretty, significant injury that I was coming off of. So, I didn't have the I didn't. But it's crazy because I got released by Pittsburgh. I signed with the Giants, and I was back. You know what I'm saying? Like my foot felt great. I had a phenomenal training camp with them. And they didn't want to release me. It came down to a numbers thing, which I understood, but then that took me to Detroit.
So people don't really realize, man, this business is, you know, it can be ugly. And just hearing you talk about it, man, is truly, you know, just hearing it just feel like I can relate with somebody who can understand.
Yeah.
And also, like, you really reached the pinnacle, bro. You seen it. You seen the money. You seen this. You seen all of it, man. And that's why I'm so glad that we were able to get you on the show. And, like, bro, like, and we want to put on the record, bro, you wanted to come on, bro.
Yeah.
And for me, that makes me feel like, man, like, we building something, bro. And we got something special. And just hearing you, you know, just talk about everything that you're talking about, bro. 2 more things, man. The first thing is, do you still want to play? And I feel like I'm in that same space as you, and we might be different in everything like that, but, like, where are you with that, bro?
I can say this. Of course I do, because I still can play.
Yeah.
You know, I went through last year being in Detroit. I didn't get a ton of reps and a ton of ops. But, you know, I probably throughout the course of the season, we did one-on-ones a lot in Detroit. I may have lost 2 one-on-ones the entire year. You know, I saw myself ascending. Last year around this time is when I really started to get back healthy and so on and so forth. So, but again, I played a lot of football, you know, last year, just in totality, you know what I'm saying, as far as that was my first year in a while playing in the preseason, you know what I'm saying? So it was a lot, you know, and really for me, it was more so just the evaluation process of what I'm kind of going through right now was more so of a body thing, you know, my foot injury that I had in LA is something that has just lingered, you know. Without that, I probably would say could, you know, run another 2 to 3 years, you know what I'm saying, just how the rest of my body feel. But that's something that has been, you know, constant maintenance as far as, you know, what needs to be done and so on and so forth. So this offseason, I wanted to take some time to just see how my body responded. I wanted to give myself a little bit of time to heal up, you know. I had a couple opportunities come up in the spring where I could have went some places, you know, but now having kids and stuff like that, you know, not wanting to be too far from them. You know, last year was my first kind of year being away from my daughter from as much time as I was, you know, and that took a toll on her a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
so,
bro.
You know, being able to, you know, factor all those things in is funny because I've talked to coaches who are like, man, listen, man, you know what I'm saying, like, kids gonna be all right, you know what I'm saying, and so on and so forth. But for me, you know, I always look at it to whereas it's like, you know, what am I building towards? You know, for me, it was building towards wanting to win the Super Bowl, you know, and I had all the opportunity in the world and probably the best opportunity that I had in a while last year.
Sure, yeah.
And granted, we came up short, you know, but it's not going to be, and how the league works is, man, year to year, everything is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, you know, the team that may win the Super Bowl this year, it could be a team that was contending last year. It could be a team that nobody thought about. You know, that's kind of how the league works, you know. So for me, it comes down to, you know, if the right opportunity, you know, I'm still in shape. I'm still training. I'm still working out. I still can go.
Yeah.
But if the right opportunity was to come about, you know, I would definitely be with it and down to take it. But at the end of the day, I say all the time, man, if it's 32 teams in the league, 16 teams are actually contending.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Truthfully, in my opinion.
You know, 1,000%.
You know what I'm saying? The other 16 are kind of building.
No,
and
trying
like
to get
8
there.
of the 16 are like in rebuild.
Yeah.
The other 8 of the 16 are building, and they had a fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And then you got 16 teams who are really like got Super Bowl circled to whereas we can do this.
No, 1,000%.
You know what I'm saying? And 8 of those teams are going to fall off from now up until week 1 based on injuries or something like that. And then it's going to be about 8 to 10 teams that's going to be left throughout the course of the season. That's going to kind of teeter back and forth. That's going to fight to really say which one of these teams are going to truly be, you know, contenders. So for me,
bro.
You know, if the right opportunity was to call, you know, I would definitely be with it. But at the same time, you know, if it doesn't, you know, I'm at peace with just kind of, you know, where I am with everything now, and, you know, some of the things that I have going on business wise and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, man, this is a league where, you know, it's not like you could force it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you could just. It's not like you could be on a team. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of stuff that
goes
into it, you know. And I also think that, you know, my family, they probably were really enjoying it now, just, you know, me being around more.
Yeah, man.
You know, the schedule, you know, the mental aspect. And when I say the mental aspect, people know, like, when I'm in it,
you in it.
You know, I'm in a different mode.
Nah,
you know
same.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my mode, you know, is you
block out everything, and it's tough, man. And people don't really realize that, like, man, we sacrificing a lot, and it weighs on us too. You know what I'm saying? And just hearing you say it, it's inspiring me, because I kind of feel the same way with how I'm feeling about it. Like, but it feels good to hear you say what you're saying, because I don't feel alone with how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what Showtime Speaks is. And as we come to a close, bro, like, we love to end every show with this, bro. And it's the keep going segment, bro. So basically, you know, you've been through a lot, bro. You describe a time in your life where, like, man, you had to pick it all back up, where you felt like it was over, and you were down at your worst, and you found a way to keep going, bro. Like, what's that moment? What's that time? Talk about it, bro.
Yeah, you know, for me, I tell her, it's like I actually feel like I had like 3 careers in one. You know, I had the stage where, you know, I was kind of ascending, you know what I'm saying, and being, like, you know, young and going to the Pro Bowl and so on and so forth. Then I go to Chicago, and now I'm kind of like a vet, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I'm making bread, I'm doing different things, you know what I'm saying? I'm the guy. Then I've also had the experience, you know, where I'm one of the guys, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I've been able to see the whole sphere of the NFL, from being paid, released, traded, franchise tagged, you know, across the board, you know, and, you know, I'm very appreciative of that. And, you know, the biggest thing for me is where I'm at, man, and why I'm such at peace is, you know, I laid it on the line, and I gave everything I got, you know, every year, every opportunity. You know, it's not anything that I didn't leave anything on the table. You know, I don't have a regret, you know, maybe from a communication standpoint, you know, to some coaches or something like that. But as far as what I was bringing to the table and what I was doing, you know, I don't have any regrets, man. And I think that's the biggest thing, you know, that I'm so at peace with and that I can live with, is that, you know, I came into this thing and, you know, I did it the best way that I know how. You know, I had my foot on the gas the entire time, you know, and, you know, sometimes, you know, you got to get a new whip. You feel me? Your whip get miles and so on and so forth. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. But, you know, it's been a beautiful journey. If it is, you know, the end of that journey and chapter, you know, it's been a beautiful one. You know, I've lived, learned, you know, experienced a lot.
Man. Kenny?
Nah, man, we appreciate you for coming on, man. Again, I say this all the time when we got guys like you come on, where the youth, because I train a lot of the youth, bro, a lot of the up and coming, and for them to hear your story where, you know, you wasn't the biggest, you wasn't the fastest at all the times, but you always believed in yourself.
Yep.
And that just gives them hope, bro. And that's what all I'm about, you know, giving the youth hope, and, you know, having guys like you tell your stories so that they can hear it. And, you know, if you can do it, they can do it. You know what I mean? So we appreciate you for coming on, bro. And hopefully we can get a workout in soon, too.
1,000%, man. Just, you know, I admire, I followed your career. You know, we were together, got a chance to be around you a lot. Like I said, man, at one point, like, you saved me, bro. And I'm extremely grateful for you. You know, watching your game, watching you progress over the years, watch you become a father, watch you become who you are, a family man, family through and throughout. Like, I got a lot of respect for you, bro.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on the show. This is something that's going to be forever for us, bro. We stamped since 2015, bro. It's just like, for me, it means everything to me, bro. So for us to have this episode to be forever, and like, we gonna look back at this like 20 to 30 years from now, man. And this is truly special. This is what Showtime Speaks is all about. Really talking about what you've been through, how you got through it, and really sometimes, like he said, man, sometimes you gotta get a new whip, and sometimes, you know what I'm saying, like you put all the miles on it, and you got to move on. And you know, that was extremely encouraging for me to hear, because I'm actually going through that currently, and It's been an inspiration to watch you. A lot of kids who you've influenced over the years, whether it was in Detroit, whether it was in Jacksonville, whether it was in Pittsburgh, the Giants, everything that you've done, everything that you've touched, you've been great, bro.
I appreciate it.
So continue to walk on this journey with us, y'all. Continue to be with us, yo. And you always know it's always going to be Showtime Speaks. Come on.
What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.